Okay, we are supposedly live. We have, well, it says there's nobody watching, but we have two watching. So please let me know if we are working, if you can hear things well enough, if there are any problems. Uh, okay. This is the Hyperthyroid Cat channel. I'm Forrest Poston. I'm not a vet. Sometimes I'm not quite sure what I am. So I settle for knowing what I'm not. Well, that works some of the time. I will be talking some about the medicine options that are available. Uh, a lot of people will already know that, but vets often just give people pills or transdermal and don't discuss the options. Now, of course, the options vary depending on what country you live in. I'll touch on that a little bit. But, okay, thank you, Susan and Georgie. Um, Yeah, I'll be talking about the medicine, but feel free to post questions anytime. Questions do not have to be about medication. Any cat subject is uh, open for discussion. I apologize if I don't happen to see the comment or miss it for a while. Uh, with this arrangement, I kind of have to turn over here in order to read the comments, and sometimes I forget. I'm also somewhat scattered tonight, and if you look closely, the background is messier than usual, and I have the angle set so that you can't see just how messy. But we're in the midst of something of a stressful period here. It's keeping me busy. Uh, we had some cats that evidently got a well, we're not sure if mycoplasm, fungal infection, or both, kind of leaning towards both. Three of them got it, two of them have died, and Raucus is not doing well. So we're on a lot of treatment. Plus, well, Cara Farrell's Reggie's mom, they were very bonded, and since Cara Farrell died, Reggie has been going to great lengths to get out, and I think she's looking for her mama. So I'm also got four traps in our yard and one a couple of houses down. So it's keeping me because and with the cold weather, I have to check the traps every hour and a half during the night. So I'm on relatively little sleep, and lots of stress is my main diet. Um, Yeah, and Georgia, if you have questions about the diabetes, that is definitely something we've dealt with here. We currently have two diabetic cats, both of whom, it's a result of long-term prednisolone use. Prednisolone is wonderful stuff, does lots of good things, but if you can treat things differently or minimize the dose, that's best. Um, and with Raucus, we've actually had, well, actually both of them, we've had to put them back on prednisolone temporarily, which is really making it tricky to handle their glucose. Anyway, I was going to talk about some medicine issues. Uh, Now, pretty much the only type of medication available is methimazole. If you look, it appears that there are dozens, but they're pretty much all methimazole under a different name. Tapazole, Filamazole brand name. Um, there is carbamazole available in some countries, not in the US. I think Australia and the UK I know have it. Um, and it's sort of a different medicine, but the body converts it into methimazole, so it's the same medicine, supposedly lower risk of digestive upset. And I don't know if there is any other reason to use it over methimazole, since again, in the body, it is the same thing, works the same way. Pills are, of course, the I mean, they are the most used, uh, way over in, anything else. In part, that's because, I mean, generic methimazole is cheap. It is the cheapest form of ongoing treatment. The Filamazole or other brand name pills get fairly expensive. Only difference, with Filamazole, they have a coating that hides the taste and smell. If your cat, if that's a big deal with your cat, you use Filamazole. But there's really not much of any other reason to pay the extra money. And to get the right dose, you often have to cut Filamazole. So, the whole taste and smell issue becomes moot. And now, I mean, the one thing, if you're using a generic, pharmacies may give you different generics at different times, made from different companies. The medicine is the same, but the fillers may be different. So you can end up with different results, or cats may have a reaction to the medicine that's actually a reaction to the filler. Um, Filamazole, it's going to be consistent. So you're paying to get essentially the same mix every time. The downside with pills, two of them, one is it's hard to give some cats pills. There are cats that are very easy to pill. And you can learn a variety of tricks, different types of pill pockets, that sort of thing. But pilling can leave you with lots of scratches and lots of stress, and stress for the cat. And the other, with any oral form, digestive upset is a risk. And vets uh, have been telling people to give some of the medicines on an empty stomach. I think Thyronorm actually says that in their instructions, and to me, that's just stupid. It doesn't absorb better. Food does not hurt the absorption. If anything, it may improve it. Uh, but if they haven't tested, if they haven't done studies to see what difference it makes, companies often protect themselves by saying don't give with food or don't cut the pill because they haven't studied what happens if you cut the pill. Yeah. And we have to do what works for the cat, not for the company. Um, Second most common use, let me check. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, somebody had mentioned the Libre 2 on one of my YouTube videos. I guess it was you. We actually use the one from CVS, which is, you know, not necessarily as accurate, but accurate enough. And yeah, our experience with diabetic cats goes all the way back to the days when you did not have a uh, nice little tester to use at home. I suppose they were available, but people just weren't doing it. And we did what you call shooting blind. The vet checks the glucose and says, "Hey, give them this many units," and you do that twice a day until you retest some months later and see what's going on. And the risk of hypoglycemia is pretty high that way, and whoo, it's not fun to see. Um, so be extra thankful for having a meter. Second most common medication is transdermal, and that's actually one of the reasons I wanted to talk about the medicines in this video. Uh, in some of the groups lately, every time a new person comes in, people start telling them, use the transdermal, use the transdermal, use the transdermal. It's not for every cat. And I wish people in these groups would learn to ask questions or sometimes just learn to read the comment, the original post, before they just tell everybody the same thing as if all cats are alike. That attitude is one of the reasons vets make mistakes, and then the people do it themselves in the groups. Um, Transdermal can be great because it bypasses the digestive system. So if a cat is, if a cat is hard to pill or getting digestive upset because of the medicine, not just because it's an overdose, transdermal may be a good idea. But it costs several times more than the pills. In the US, in the UK, it is insanely high, and I think it's even higher in Australia. Um, and I know in the UK, there's only one or two companies you can buy it from, and the quality control is crap. So I consider transdermal actually a next to last resort in the UK, with YD being the last resort, the YD food from Hills. Um, and I mean, with transdermal, if blood flow is not good in the ears, transdermal doesn't work. I mean, transdermal has a reputation for not absorbing as well as pills, but the truth is that in some cases it absorbs very well, in some cases it doesn't, which may be due to blood flow in the ears, what base you're using, whether or not the pins are accurate, which they frequently are not. But somebody started pushing the pins instead of the 1 milliliter syringes that I consider much better. Now we have the problem that instead of Lipiderm, which is an excellent base, uh, a lot of pharmacies have been going to anhydrous Lipiderm, which lasts longer on the shelf. I mean, it's more stable, um, but risk of skin irritation is just terrible. We see so many problems with it. Um, so transdermal can be great, but it's not for every cat. None of these options are for every cat. And finding a really good compounding pharmacy can be tricky. Um, Also, another reason I wanted to mention this, there are liquid forms. I mean, in the UK, Thyronorm has been available for, I don't know, 15 years or so. And it's a very good option for some cats. I mean, it's a flavored liquid, very easy to adjust the dose in very small increments. Uh, Cats frequently like the flavor. They will eat it mixed with food a lot of the times, even if the company may say not to do it. And on the other hand, if you're trying to squirt it into a cat's mouth, most cats don't like that. I have heard of cats that will lick it from the stopper. Um, and in the US, up until I think it was June of this year, um, FDA did approve what they call Felanorm in the US. It is the same product from the same company, but Thyronorm is the name of a human hypothyroid medicine in the US, so they had to use a different name. Let me check over here. No, we're not getting a lot of questions. 5 people watching, so we're not real busy. I hope what I'm saying is of value to those who are here. I do hope we'll get some more questions. Uh, Now, I should say I'm not going to run over an hour with this video because I do have to get back to some cat things. So if you have a question you want answered, this is the time to ask it. Um, but anyway, Felanorm now available in the US. Much less expensive than going to a compounding pharmacy to get it made into a liquid. So that is an advantage. On the other hand, cats may not like the flavor, and there is only one flavor option with Thyronorm or Felanorm, whichever. And a few cats seem to have a negative reaction to the liquid that it's in. I can't confirm that, but we have had some cats in the groups that have had strange reactions. Um, that don't that just don't seem to be related to the medicine, which kind of leaves you guessing it is the liquid itself. Still have the option in the US to do a compounded liquid. And then again, you have a lot more flavor options. Cost is higher. Um, and flavor varies from pharmacy to pharmacy. You may ask for chicken flavor, but they don't all use the same flavoring method. So, chicken from one pharmacy, the cat may love, chicken from another, not so. Or they may like the marshmallow flavor. Yeah. Um, so it's great to have Phenonorm as an option in the US, simply, due to the difference in cost. Um, and it is something, I'm not sure how many vets are aware of it at this point. So if you have been looking for an option in the US, but can't afford the compounding, or finding a good compounding pharmacy is a problem, ask about Phenonorm. Um, let's see here. Oh, one that people tend not to know about, you can get methimazole compounded into treats. I think they even now have mini melts at some pharmacies. Not all pharmacies offer treats, and like the liquids, you know, the flavor, chicken is not the same from pharmacy to pharmacy. Um, and once you have it compounded, the dose is set unless you can cut the treat, which some people have found they need to do at times. Some of the treats, if you cut them, the leftover part just goes to crap rather quickly. Others can be cut and then use the other piece later. Um, the trick, with something like that, you ask a pharmacy for unmedicated samples of 2 or 3 flavors to see if the cat likes them. You do not want to pay a bundle for treats and have the cat turn up their nose. Downside of the treat form is that a cat, we all know that just because a cat likes something for months does not mean that they will like it the next time you give it. Um, and you can find yourself putting a treat in a pill pocket. I don't know. Um, but, it is an option that people should know about. So, we're looking at pills, transdermal, liquid, including either compounded or now the commercially available version, and treat forms. So there really are quite a few options. And that's when people come into the group and they say, my vet didn't tell me that I had choices. And I suppose one of the tricks is learning to ask questions like, what are my options? Whenever the vet, suggests something, what are my options? Um, Frequently, the vets may not know the options, and they may not know how good some of them are, but at least you can ask the vet what the options are, gives you a better starting place for your research. Um, Let us see here. Let's bring this one up here. Interesting. Um, Cats can develop a cyst rather than, the typical tumor that causes hyperthyroidism. The cyst might or might not cause hyperthyroidism, might be benign, might be malignant. Um, they tend to be more difficult to treat in some ways, but I have not heard of any specific connection between 131 and formation of a cyst. I would consider it very unlikely, A thing to keep in mind with the 131, the healthy thyroid is dormant. It does not take up the 131. It sleeps through the whole thing. So the tumor cells in the thyroid or any outside of the thyroid take up the 131. The 131 consists of two types of radiation. There are gamma waves, and I mean, gamma waves are extremely common. They are not particularly dangerous unless massive amounts or a lot of lifetime exposure. They pass through just about anything. Uh, they do not actually have any effect on the tumor. They're just kind of there for the ride. They're incidental. But there are also beta particles. The beta particles are what destroy the tumor. But beta particles can't pass through much of anything. Your clothing will stop most beta particles that you're ever exposed to. They are that, you know, they are they are potent within something like the tumor, but they can't get out. And all of this is, I mean, it has a relatively short, lifespan, and excess is processed out through the kidneys, and in the pee, which they tell you to use a clumping litter because the beta particles can't get out of that. Yeah. Um, so the radiation, is it the gamma? Yes, it goes through the rest of the body. And when if you measure the radiation, that's what you're measuring. It's the gamma waves. It has nothing to do with the beta particles because they can't get out to be measured. Um, but the gamma waves aren't going to do much, and the beta particles don't get out of the thyroid. So, I mean, in cats, the 131 is an almost perfect treatment because it is so targeted. Humans, it's a little bit different because they don't typically have a tumor. The whole thyroid is awake and takes up the 131. But still, the beta particles can't get out of the thyroid. So, I mean, people ask, is cancer more common? Is this more common? And generally, the answer is no, just because the beta particles are the dangerous part, relatively speaking, but they cannot pass through, you know, a millimeter of cloth stops beta particles, not a millimeter, less than that. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, it's not likely. So if a cyst has developed, it's probably just something that was going to develop anyway. Um, uh, First of all, general guide, food for diabetes. You want the um, the percentage of calories from carbohydrates to be no more than 10%, preferably 6% or less. Um, Probably the most frequently used is the classic line from Fancy Feast, the pate. Um, and many of those are 5 or 6% of calories from carbs. Uh, which ones have the best ingredient list? And what's in the food can vary a lot from what's on the list. Um, but generally speaking, the classic line is pretty good ingredient wise. Quality of the ingredients with Purina is questionable, but at least the list does not have, a lot of problematic elements. It's meat, water or meat's the first ingredient. Uh, so there you're low carb. I mean, avoid plant matter. When you see potatoes, rice, wheat, corn, and you'll find those in some diabetic foods, um, don't use foods with plant matter. The ideal, and actually, here's sort of the catch. A lot of fish flavors are 1 to 3% of calories from carbs, but fish accumulate pollutants from what they eat. So they tend to be high in heavy metals like mercury, and using them as your primary diet might be a problem. I would say the ideal, and just in general, to me, the ideal cat food is raw. Whether doing it at home and maybe using a completer like Easy Complete, or I think Alnutrin is the other common one in the US. Don't know what they use in Europe or if they're available. Um, or commercial freeze-dried or frozen raw food. I mean, particularly the ones that are like 97 to 98% um, you know, meat, organ, and bones. And just, a little bit of the blueberries and that sort of thing is, I think, more fad than actually nutritionally valuable, but, they don't hurt at that, in those quantities. Stella and Chewy's is one that we use. Good quality, widely available, um, and a wide variety of flavors, fairly wide. Quest is a good one, and a small batch is another one we typically use. I do not recommend Primal. They are a very big company, widely available. They used to be a good company. 2 years or so ago, they got bought out and they went down the toilet. Um, they have, gone back to a slightly better food, but not as good as they once were. When you get companies that are not pet food companies buying out these, and they focus on profit and trying to minimize costs and tend to reduce the quality of the ingredients, and you get a lower quality food. And one of the advantages of raw food is that you feed less of it. A good raw food, 4 ounces a day is all it takes for a 10-pound cat. So they're not as expensive as they appear. But when a company like Primal reduces the quality of the ingredients, you have to feed more of the food. And we were using it at that time, and we were having to use twice as much. The cats were still hungry, and we were paying the same price. So it was effectively double the cost per meal. So no, do not recommend Primal. But yeah, on the low end, the Fancy Feast Classic, low end of price, maybe quality. Um, and ideally, I would say a raw food. Uh, and raw is actually better for the entire digestive system. And I suspect better for the kidneys. I mean, we have the whole low protein thing for the kidneys, but the fact that they need to eat less of it, so there's less being processed by the entire body. Cats poop a lot less. I'm, so my theory for that is that there is less waste matter, and logic suggests that means less toxin level, so easier on the kidneys. Again, I'm taking a couple of facts and then extrapolating a lot, but I think the logic stands. Um, well, yeah, you can read Georgie's earlier post. A lump like that could be, it could be okay. If it's a cyst, what type of cyst is it? It may be nothing at all. Vet will need, I would say, start with, well, of course, first the vet will do, physical exam, First question will be whether or not it feels like it's attached to anything or loose. Loose is better than attached. And suggest that if the vet does not suggest it, I would suggest that the vet do a needle aspiration. And that's simply they stick a very small needle in, pull out a sample of any fluid that happens to be in there. Ideally, you're hoping that's clear, reduces the chances that we're dealing with a malignancy, and then send the fluid for testing. I mean, it's a relatively inexpensive way to do a type of biopsy. Um, Now, it's not necessarily going to be as accurate, but it gives you a really good starting point. Um, it may be what they call a fatty cyst deposit, not significant. There are other types of cysts that are benign, but they keep growing and you have to remove them just because the size can become a problem. And there is a chance that it is something more serious. Cannot cannot tell you what it is, only some things to look for and ask about. Um, Odds are that it is not a big issue, but of course, it's the odds don't matter. It's only what it really turns out to be that matters. So ask the questions, and I do wish you lots of good luck. Um, let's see. Uh, yeah, I don't use psyllium husk. Uh, in general, cats are obligate carnivores, and that means their entire digestive system is a lot different from a carnivore, an omnivore, herbivore. Fiber is not that, for most cats, it's just not a good way to deal with constipation or diarrhea. Um, Miralax does work for most cats very well. Um, Basically, it causes the intestines to pull water out of the body to soften whatever is in there in the intestines. Now, you need to make sure the cat drinks more water because you're taking water out of the rest of the body that the body needs. And constipation often is connected to dehydration. So, step one is hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I find putting ceramic mugs of water in various locations gets a lot of cats to drink more. They just like the height. Um, Cats do not naturally drink a lot of water, so you have to find ways to encourage drinking. Um, we don't do it currently. We used to have a mug right outside of the bathroom door because a lot of the cats like to visit us in the bathroom, which seems to be a thing that a lot of people are familiar with. And that way you actually get to see if the cat's drinking or not, or if you have multiple cats, which one's doing the drinking. Um, but as far as constipation, if I have to treat it, Miralax is my number one choice. An eighth of a low dose would be eighth of a teaspoon once a day, if necessary, twice a day. Can go up to a quarter teaspoon. Um, but number one thing is hydration, which means eliminate dry food if possible. Um, Cats do very rarely drink enough additional water to compensate for the fact that dry food is dry. Um, and if you're dealing with hyperthyroidism, you have to make sure T4 is in mid-normal range. Uh, it, you know, the lower third or below can cause systems to simply operate too slowly, so the poop does not move through fast enough, dries up. Um, in the upper third or just slightly high often causes dehydration, And my guess is cats pee more, but they don't drink more. So you end up with dehydration and constipation. So T4 in mid-normal range, plenty of fluids, well, sub-Q fluids if necessary, if the kidneys are having issues. But get them to drink water, add water to the food, avoid dried food, um, and hopefully that will at least minimize constipation issues. Okay, weird side effects with, and then let's see. Well, first thing to remember, cats are weird. Have not heard of well, I haven't heard of a lump. Methimazole can rarely cause facial swelling. But I mean, that would usually be more generalized. It would be, like the whole side of a face or both sides looking swollen more so than a lump. Um, but and it would, I've only heard of it being on the face, not anywhere else on the body. But cats are weird. So almost anything is possible. I would not consider it likely that it's related to the filomazole, methimazole, whichever version you're using. Now, the other thing is that hyperthyroidism itself and that tumor that causes hyperthyroidism, uh, I mean, they play games with the systems. So things are out of balance, doesn't necessarily cause something to happen, but anytime the systems are out of balance, any type of disease, illness, whatever, becomes more likely. You stress the immune system, things happen. So I know lumps of any type, whether we're talking cat or human, are scary. They are usually not serious. They can be. Um, I mean, you don't say where the lump is. Um, so but one of the things would be whether or not it's involved with the lymph nodes. Um, then you could be, I mean, your infection or potentially something like small cell lymphoma. If the vet says lymphoma, do not get immediately terrified. Small cell lymphoma is very treatable with both prednisolone and chlorambucil. Um, frequently try the prednisolone first, which is more likely to just kind of shrink things. Chlorambucil has the potential to cure small cell lymphoma. Downside of chlorambucil is that most places that sell it they raise the price sky high. Their cost did not go up. They raised the price for more profit. Chewy does have a liquid version still at a good price. But we seem to have a thing going with lumps tonight, but I wish I had better answers. All I have are more questions, I suppose. Um, I have answered the questions that are up so far. Oh, I do actually. Um, Forgive me for being commercial about this. Um, but if you do want to help the website uh, in various ways, and I guess I went over the limit here, so this does show in 2 posts. But this options for helping us out. Uh, we are every month we are in a major deficit. So anybody who can help, we sincerely appreciate it. It is not required. I will help in any way I can, whether a person helps out or not. So uh, do not feel pressured. Do not feel guilty. Um, and I realize that most people are financially stressed at the moment. And we do have, we are between holidays and the finances and stress. Finances are going down, the stress level is going up. But if you can, I would appreciate it. Do we have more questions? Hold on, let's see. Uh, okay, I won't say it. I won't post it, but we'll, yeah. um, Let me take a quick look back up the list here. Okay. Um, okay. Whoops. I just looked back up the line. I don't see it, Susan. So can you please post it again? Um, I'm assuming it's about transdermal. Uh, when, if possible, need to know what base you are using, whether it is a PLO, lipoderm, or anhydrous lipoderm. Uh, right side of her abdomen, very unlikely to be related to the phelomazole or the hyperthyroidism, except to the degree that, like I said, hyperthyroidism throws things out of balance. Um, and I don't really have a good answer for what it might be. It's not something I have any experience with specifically. So basically, good luck is is pretty much the only answer I can give you. Um, okay, um, anhydrous is your problem. Regular lipoderm is the best out there. It has the lowest risk of skin irritation. The anhydrous has the highest rate of skin irritation. I don't have stats on that, but from what we've seen, by far the highest risk of skin irritation. Um, a while back, Wedgwood Pharmacy, my understanding, I didn't double check, uh, but a batch of their Lipiderm uh, during an inspection was found to have mold. And suddenly after that, everybody started pushing the anhydrous Lipiderm and claiming that there was a problem with regular Lipiderm being shelf stable. Um, Up until that time, the general, you know, belief was that Lipiderm, regular Lipiderm, was safe to use for at least 3 months, possibly 6. Having used it for an extended time, they're right. It was good for 3 to 6 months. Um, Personally, I think Wedgwood blamed the Lipiderm when it may have been their fault. Wedgwood does not have the world's best quality control reputation. They run into problems. Um, but it was after that that it became very difficult to get regular Lipiderm, and so many places started using anhydrous. Some still use Lipiderm as their primary, or some will use regular Lipiderm if you insist. So my suggestion is to talk to your pharmacy, see if they will use regular Lipiderm. If they won't use regular Lipiderm, I would change pharmacies. Whether it's a mail order pharmacy or if you can find a local one that does a good job. Um, and I mean, basically, if I had my way, anhydrous Lipiderm would be off the market. I just seen too much trouble with it, and not nearly enough benefit to justify it. Now, Georgie, that from your description, that would be lymph nodes, which is a particular, lymph type of cancer. Not all cancers are going to show the same way, especially in cats. Um, um, there probably is one, but it can be tough. Um, Hold on a second. I'm going to put my email address in here. It's on the main page for the channel anyway, but um, send me an email. Remind me, why we're having this conversation. Um, and I can put you in touch with a mail order pharmacy. It's not in Florida, but um, I know, you know, well, actually, I'll double check. There'll be a couple of other options that I'll send to you. One of them does not use Lipiderm, but what they use has a good reputation. Some pharmacies actually kind of create their own base. This may be one of them, I'm not sure, but it is, people have used it and been successful. I'm not going to post the one pharmacy name in the group because, well, two reasons. One, I haven't talked to well, haven't had indirect contact with them in a long time, so I'm not absolutely sure they still use Lipiderm. Um, but they can only do a limited amount of business out of state. So, if I tell everybody, I mean, I would love to have everybody use this pharmacy. They're very good. Now, again, if their number one guy hasn't retired, I have to check that. But I will send you some options. Um, not sure when I'll see your email, how long after you send it, but if I don't reply within a day, contact me again. Um, I'm not too bad, but I do get distracted. So um, okay, we got 11 people watching. Have I missed anybody else's question, or do you have more questions? Um, and actually, if there are particular subjects you would like me to cover in a video on the website, on the channel, let me know. Um, I need to have more subjects, to have more videos, to get more attention from the YouTube algorithm. And having said that, also, I mean, hey, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Please share. Please watch the videos. The way YouTube is set up, I've got the minimum number of subscribers needed in order to put a little button on the website that says please donate. Um, but I do not have the number of watch hours. If people aren't watching the video enough, PayPal won't allow me to ask for money. Um, Even posting, that request probably breaks their rules. I'm not sure. They don't specifically say don't do it, but there are some hints. And if you displease YouTube, their algorithm doesn't list your video on the search and notifications for as many people. And so you don't get as many watch hours and you don't get to put up the little please donate button. It's great fun, yes. Uh, you are welcome. I'm glad I can do it. Um, we'll see. Have to keep trying to find ways to make money, which does limit how much time been trying to make money off of various YouTube channels. None of them have gotten close as yet. So I'm going to be cutting back on what I'm doing in some areas, trying to focus on others. And actually, let's see, my YouTube channels, if you are interested, there's the Hyperthyroid cats. There is one called Thoughts and Mutters. I say it's where my mind goes out to play. That one covers stupid things that I have done, like driving from West Virginia to New Jersey to try to impress a potential girlfriend. Well, she is now married to somebody else, so that tells you pretty much how that worked out. But doing so in a car that really had no reason to be on the road. You'll have to watch the video to find out if and when I broke down. Obviously, I made it eventually. And it also includes things about literature, poetry, writing, education, and there will be videos working on my new theory called dimensional thinking, which relates to empathy and a few other issues. I do actually think it's going to be an important thing down the road. But anyway, so thoughts and mutters, lots of things on there. And well, let's see, the West Virginia football one may no longer be active soon. I'm not sure. And I've got another video out there and another channel, and I can't remember what it is. I told you I was rather scattered, and the caffeine, I think, is starting to wear off. Let's see. Oh, of course. It's called Teak Talking, where I talk about antiques and collectibles and similar subjects. So if you are into art glass, art pottery, art, kitsch, anything like that, got 30 something or maybe 22 videos on that channel right now. It is one I plan to focus on. So if you want to look me up on YouTube, you might have some fun. Last live chat I did, somebody went and watched. Their favorite was Mansion Across the Hedge, or something like that. The haunted mansion from my childhood and what happened when we went to visit it. We also have Ghost Dancer in the Twilight Zone. So we have some eerie videos. I have not yet posted the video about why I have a particularly deep lump or bump. No, crevice on that part of my skull. Let's see. Well, we have 11 people watching, but we're not getting more questions. So I'm going to ask again, wait a moment or two. If nobody has more questions, it is almost an hour into the video, and as I said, I do have to go do some cat things. Like, if you want, why do I keep looking down? This is sort of our isolation room, and Rockus is in here with me at the moment. His food dish and water dish are down there, so I've kind of been watching as he comes along, and I'm pleasantly surprised that so far he has not shook the camera. But then I also have to go do cat medications and check the traps to see if Reggie has finally gotten hungry enough to go into one. And she knows very well what they are. But yeah, she's been out looking for her mama who died. And she comes and visits us. She was around here an awful lot today. Would not go into any of the traps, and going to try a few more tricks. She's smart, and seeing her today was good. It's the first warm day since she got out again, and this does prove that she has or at least up to now, has had a good spot to ride out the cold weather. So glad of that. Need to trap her. The quick story, and well, Georgie, I think the Thoughts and Mutters channel has some videos. I do have a Facebook page called The Cats of Gen 4's Oddities. Let me write that here. I won't link to it. I'm not sure of the spelling because I can't remember what, you know, some places they won't allow hyphens or, apostrophes. So this is the other version. I need to post some pictures there, some updated photos. But that page is where you'll see more of the photos of the cats, as well as my regular Facebook profile. Uh, but the cats of Gen 4's Oddities, I think you'll also see a lot of the, Bianca's modeling with our glass and pottery. She's very good at that. Um, Particularly, if you go to the Thoughts and Mutters, I think it will, or whether if I didn't move it, we have Al's Big Snow Day, and I will warn you that it is a tearjerker video. It was a very sad story. We don't have a lot of videos of the cats, a lot more just photos. But I do need to update some of those. A lot of things I have not been getting done. Quick story tonight, because I had to check the traps shortly before doing the video. And well, in the times we've been doing this, we have caught multiple stray cats, some very lovely ones. We caught either multiple raccoons or the same raccoon multiple times, possums quite frequently. And up until tonight, we had not had to deal with the question of how do you release a skunk from one of these live traps. Well, I did use a little bit of a shield just in case. Fortunately, it appears, it's difficult for a skunk to lift its tail all the way because it bumps into the roof of the trap. I think it caused this one to hesitate. But moving very slowly and as quietly as I could, I did open the door. Very happy that I bought a type of cage that has a little safety device that you can use to keep the door open. And then I got out of the way. Although it turned out I had to go around to the other end of the trap, so the skunk was, worried enough to turn around and go out the open end. I was afraid for a bit that I would have to cancel tonight's live chat because I would be trying to deodorize myself. But hopefully, hey, the skunk will tell all the other skunks to stay out of the traps and leave them for Reggie. All right. It is just about to ring 8 o'clock. We haven't had any questions for several minutes. So I do appreciate everybody for dropping in. I will repeat, please share, please subscribe, please watch the videos, and particularly in the comments on the videos or by email, hey, my email is there. Always feel free to contact me directly. Yeah, I know that you may have to remind me to answer, but I am always looking for ideas for new videos on the Hyperthyroid channel. All right, guys, I do appreciate folks being here. Yeah, I didn't have any exceptional answers. Hey, I was able to give some specifics about food for diabetic cats, for the cysts and such. Yeah, I'm I'm vague on that myself, so I do wish everybody good luck. Okay, I am going to go take care of the cats here. Please say hello to your cats there. So long.